My entitled mother wants my future house, which I don't even own yet, to herself so she can buy it in the future. Yes, I know this story sounds pretty complex and weird, but you guys don't even know the half of it. It gets so much crazier. My name's Mr. Reddito, and today I have two stories for you. Our main story about the entitled mother and another story that has complete updates. Okay, I won't delay any further. Let's get right into it. Some or a lot of background. I've been homeless for a time, after being kicked out 3 different times. First one was from my physical and emotionally abusive plus alcoholic father's home. I was around 16. Second one was from my uncle's home after he became mentally ill and very unstable, so I don't blame him. I was 23 or 24 at the time and was taking care of him until he became too aggressive. And the third one, again, from my father's home after we all thought he had changed. We were wrong, and this was around 3 years ago. I was 24 or 25. This is relevant as my parents were divorced since I was a kid, because of my father's abusive behavior, and comes to play in the story. Second important background part is that we never had any money, and all the money that did come was wasted on alcohol, drugs, prostitutes, and so on, by my father, while me and my 1-year-old brother were left unattended, starving, and so on. But the thing is, my grandparents have tons of money and properties. If I count them now, I'd say they have around 10 flats, bought through a business they own. Thing is, my father and uncle had many fights with my grandparents, and they tell everybody that they were abusive to them when they were young, and so on. Now, I'd believe this, but I'm more inclined to think otherwise, as even after ending up in court after multiple assaults, my grandparents allowed them to live in 2 of their properties. I'd even go as far as saying that they were luxury flats. If they hadn't made them into a big trash container, sometimes literally using a room as trash storage. Okay, now on to recent events. So, after going homeless, my mother took my brother and I into her flat for a time, although I was forced to find another place whenever her boyfriend wanted time with her, as she did not care if I had a place to sleep as long as she could have intimacy every few days. On perspective, this would have been a good start for an entitled parent story, but I'd say it's just a bad parent story, so I'll leave it at that. And don't get me wrong, she was never a bad mom, or not as bad as my father at least, but she simply kept her distance, as being a mom simply wasn't the life she wanted. This is relevant also. So, after that, I took the initiative and made contact with our grandparents again. Although everyone else disagreed, but I had to take the chance. It had been around 15 years since we were forbidden from contacting them, as all my family spoke of them as the devil, or even worse. And again, they're not saints, but holy heck are they lifesavers. They rejoiced after, quote, I came back to them, showered us with cash for everything we needed, and found us a place to live, renting it, and gave us cash every month. Even paid for my brother's final years at university. And for my studies too. Still, my mom did not like most of it, although I choose to believe she was at least relieved she wasn't going to be, quote, forced to take care of us anymore. It got to a point where they bought my brother an apartment, not only so he had a permanent home, but also so he could have some property to his own, as my father's home was supposed to one day be ours. I should mention here that all these years they still gave both my father and uncle a whole salary to each other, so they, quote, knew we couldn't have had everything we needed. Sadly for them, they were wrong about that. For the cast, we got EM, entitled Mom, Bro, my brother, and me, although aunts and uncles and grandparents will be mentioned too. Okay, on to the story. Just another night gaming. I wish I could stop feeling like things could go back to square zero at any moment. So I start thinking. It's been a while since I was told I was next at getting my own apartment, just so we could rent it and have our own money. I'm not fond of being a landlady, but perhaps I should help speed the process and look for one. I think, so I do it. Next morning, my grandparents thank me profusely for helping with it and taking the initiative, so we start visiting some candidates, some of which I go with my mom to on separate visits. Somehow that starts a whole month of my mom telling me things such as, quote, "I don't like that place for you. The apartment's on a very bad zone in the city. Nobody would ever rent it. I know which places you'd like better. This park is full of drug addicts. You're not living here." At first, and to be fair, those seemed like pretty innocent claims, but then they started becoming something else. See, she always lived on rented homes, and she's the only one of her family to not have a home of her own. Her two brothers, her sister, and her parents have their own home, so she somewhat hopes to inherit her parents' home after they do pass. It's not happening, by the way, as one of her brothers doesn't like her one bit and would not give his part away, and she has no way to buy it from him. But anyways, back to the story. She starts giving us hints or requests of living at my brother's apartment. It only has 2 rooms, but my brother's at university elsewhere, so I guess there is a free room, right? Well, no, because obviously he'd need a place to live after he finishes university, or if anything happens, or even a place to stay if he comes by. Mom starts telling us how she'd do it for us for the money, and, quote, "We get along so well, we would have never noticed she's there." Except all that's not true. She sometimes buys us groceries, yeah, but we don't ask for it. She's never given us any money aside of that. And not even that before we went homeless. Although she was obligated to because of the divorce. Well, she did, but always asked for the money back. I guess I should tell a story or 2 of those times a different day. But going back to the story, things get convoluted. My mom at the time had spoke about her perfect idea. I gotta say, it wasn't half bad, on paper, but not practical. She said something along the lines of, "Well, since you're getting a home of your own, why not, instead of renting it to some idiots that would destroy it and not even pay rent? I rent it, but I live here and you live there. You'd like it. We don't have to tell anyone. You don't like this place anyways, and the money would stay home." At first, I was confused, like, why keep it secret? She always does this with everything. All has to be a secret, but makes things absurdly complicated. So I tell her, no. I can't rent you my house only for you to live at Bro's house. He should be asked first at least. Besides, that would mean he'd have to live with me, so he'd have to know. "Well, see, this place is perfect for me. I can change this room for that one. The living room would be my room. I can make this and this other change, and..." I was stunned. She started telling me all the changes she's been clearly thinking about for a long time. At least since all those months back, she's telling us how good of an idea it would be for her to live here. And I say, again, no. I don't think brother would like living with you, and I won't let you live here without him knowing. If you want to do shady things, you'll have to tell him and grandparents, since they're paying for all this. She started turning red. Not of rage, or perhaps just a part of it, but she always fakes cries when she doesn't get what she wants. They would not understand.
They tried to make me live in a crap hole back when they bought us a home when you weren't even born."
But they didn't. They changed the place, and although I think you do deserve a home too, for all you had to put up with, it doesn't have to do anything with this. They did. As I said, the place they ended up buying for them was almost a luxury one. You could see the beach from it and so on. Although it was never supposed to be their own place, as it was bought through said business, and we were supposed to inherit it when my grandparents passed. It was a weird exchange. I did not fully grasp why she was acting like that at the time, so I called Bro and explained. He told me she's been insisting on the topic of living with me for a while, as if we both were gonna live at his apartment. But since he knows her, he also knew she was full of crap, and told her more or less what I told her too. Well, days passed, and she seemed to start accepting how ridiculous it was to make a very convoluted plan of renting a home to live at and not telling anyone. So I proposed we all talk about it on a normal, decent term. That is, she rents Brother's home since he isn't there now, and he can choose where he wants to live, since there would be free rooms at both places. My mom was visibly displeased but accepted the terms. But then came for more drama after I found a perfect place for me. She says, There's thugs living there. You're gonna get yourself robbed, assaulted, or killed." I was both shocked and rolling my eyes at the same time. All those places she spoke so badly about had changed, and I mean really changed. And it's nowhere near she's saying it's like. I tell her, "Mom, that house is perfect, and whether I get it or not, it's none of your business. I've checked the neighborhood, the house, the community, and even the nearby park. It's not as you paint it." "You're wrong, and I'm not renting a home at that place." I was confused. Again, she was not renting my home, and she was supposed to know. I say, no, you obviously don't, because I'd be the one living here, not you." Something to take into account that my future home was gonna have an extra room, so it was gonna be bigger. This will be important too, although you surely can see why. "Well then, if you get that place, I'm not renting your brother's." Me, feeling rage boiling inside me. "What?" "Listen, we're gonna rent it, whether it's to you or some random person. And Brother has already agreed to that, as well as grandparents." Em was getting red again, but this time not fake crying. And then she said, "Whatever. I should have stayed with your father. That way I'd have a home." She was so spiteful about that. You wouldn't even believe it. And I felt cold but burning inside. I tried to stay calm, but also make her see that she had just said something horrible. "Excuse you, could you say that again?" I was very, very hurt, but mostly offended, because at that point I realized, despite possibly more things being in her mind, right then and there she simply wanted a piece of the cake. Em frowned and started her fake crying act again, as if I was the one who told her something horrible and not the opposite. So I just rolled my eyes, sighed, and excused myself out of there. A few days after that, she came to Brother's home again, and we went for a walk, as she seemed to want to talk. I wanted to have an easy exit out just in case. Spoiler, I needed it and used it. The conversation went as followed. "I'll tell you what you're gonna do." Me thinking, oh my gosh, here we go again. She was saying it as if it was the most brilliant idea she's ever had. "I'm gonna rent your house, but I'm gonna live at Brother's house." I sighed so hard it seemed exaggerated, but it came right out of my soul. Listen, I'm gonna do it so I can. Then buy it from you. I was flabbergasted at her idiocy and her courage to tell me a plan so stupid. So, you're telling me you're gonna rent my house but live at brother's house, so you can then buy my house and still live at brother's house, and brother and I live at your house, that we could then maybe inherit? EM, clearly insulted. What do you mean, maybe? I had the most obvious expression of, this is the most absurd thing I've ever heard on my face. My body and hands also, but she was glaring at me as if she just smelled a fart. Are you out of your mind? Now, I didn't yell but raised my voice, and we were in the street. I stopped walking, so she was forced to stop too, and people were staring. I wouldn't have normally wanted that, but I really wanted her to absorb and accept the idea of how ridiculous she was getting. What? It's not like I'm gonna be here for long anyways. Whenever I retire, I'm gonna travel the world. I won't ever come back to this garbage city. Now she was raising her voice, apparently not getting how that made everything even more absurd. What do you even want my house for then? What if you get dead? What if I can't pay to inherit it when you die? Are you really not seeing how it makes absolutely no freaking sense? EM huffed and puffed. I would sign a contract, she said, so as if she just made sense of all of it on a victorious tone. Were you thinking of renting brother's home without a contract? She was very displeased about me saying that, most probably because she actually was thinking about it. Of course not. Who do you think I am? I just want the best for you. Then explain to me how taking my house so you can own something without any way to know if I'll ever get it back and making me pay for it if I do so helps me. Please go ahead. Guys, she was actually gonna reply to that. I roll my eyes again and start to walk away. No, you know what? I don't want to know. Get your life together. Now, I wish it was the end of it, but it wasn't. I ended up not getting the place I like so much, so we were still looking for some nice places to get. But EM has kept telling us she is going to move to brother's house whether we like it or not, and that it's all up to us to help. She doesn't seem to quite catch what no means, or that we absolutely don't want to live with her for multiple reasons. I fully believe she's actually going to end her contract with her current landlord soon, just so she can tell us there's no other way, and just make us feel guilty if she has to go homeless, despite having the money to rent any place she wants, and despite me having paid for months of the last 2 places she rented so she could move, because she doesn't like staying anywhere for too long. Thus why she travels so much and wants to continue in the future. So I'm trying to make myself ready for when that happens. I guess I'll update y'all when or if I finally get my own home. Honestly, guys, I think that this mother of the story is a very toxic person, and she's putting OP in a toxic situation. I read one comment, and I totally agree with this opinion, and I think I should read it. It says, didn't she leave her children homeless and make you go to a homeless shelter so she could get it in with her man? Yeah, I wouldn't let her near a property I owned. Low contact or no contact might be the best. She obviously has no regard for either of you. Guys, in my opinion, Mr. Reddito says I agree. You should probably go low contact or no contact, and maybe in the future you guys can work something out. But it just seems too toxic for me right now. Okay, guys. There's still one more story left in today's video, and it comes complete with an update. The title of it is, Boyfriend 28 Male found out about how much money I have, and now he wants to pay for a house and a new car and a new trip. Guys, this story is pretty dramatic. Let's get right into it. I want to make it clear I've always spent money on my boyfriend, buying him nice things and whatnot. He got his PlayStation 4 and a new gaming PC because of me. My boyfriend, however, found out that I have a good amount of money and has started to be quite weird about it. Several times he's referred to my money as our money, and using our money to buy him the luxury car he's dreamt of having. He wants us to move out of separate apartments and get a house together, and has said instead of getting him a small Christmas gift, that I should fund a trip for him to see Europe. I'm from Italy and have family in Bulgaria, Croatia, and the Netherlands, and he's from Canada. Buying the luxury car, it's less whether I can afford it, and more, that seems like something you get your husband or wife, not your boyfriend of 3 years. The house I can understand, if we're engaged or something, but we aren't. He's talked about marriage several times in the past, a few months, and finally, yes, I can afford a trip for both of us to tour Europe. But whereas it's something I might have thought of for us to do before, he only brought this up after finding out that I have the money to pay for it. Is this reason enough to break up with him? So, I do have an opinion on this one. At the end, OP asked, do you think this is enough for her to break up with her boyfriend? In my opinion, I don't think it's enough, since they do have a 3-year relationship, and I think they can work this out. However, I do think it's a gigantic red flag that this money is interesting him so much, and we all know that money can change people, so I hope OP can work it out. But there is a complete update for this story. If you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button. I have all the updates for the stories, and Mr. Reddito drops daily videos. So consider subscribing, and let's check out this update. So, I did not automatically dump my boyfriend. I decided I'd have a talk with him. I told him that it was basically really damn inappropriate to find out I have money and start making demands. I told him I have no problems using my finance for our relationship, but he should not automatically expect that I'm going to put out money on a very expensive thing for him, just because. He seemed very ashamed and agreed it was really crappy thing to do. He got carried away and a bit too excited. I told him I understood, but to do it was very disrespectful to me. And at the time we've shared together, it made me feel like all of a sudden my money is what mattered. For a little while it seemed all was well. Then the other day, we were having a minor argument over something that turned into a big argument. And he said something along the lines of,
Well, don't even want to use what you have for us, so maybe you never ducking cared about me.
He got really quiet as though he knew that it was a crappy thing to say. And we did not talk until 2 days later. I was really angry. I was going to talk things through with him. However, this made the relationship a fatality. He told a couple people we're good with, despite me asking him to keep the money quiet. And that I was really rich and could afford tons of stuff. How did I find out? Saturday, we all went drinking together. He gets a bit too much in his system and orders an expensive bottle of wine. One of our friends was like, who orders that crap? We're good with our beers, and that wine is too expensive. Our other friend piped up and was like, no, it's okay, she's really rich. Pointed to me. She can pick up our tab tonight. Cue several other people who I've never told about my family's money suddenly grilling me on why I never trusted them enough to tell them about my money. And thought we were friends, that kind of thing. I broke up with him the next day. He's been blowing up my phone all day, but duck him. I could have moved past what he said the other day when we were arguing, but to tell people I specifically asked him not to, I trusted him so much with it. Yeah, I've lost a 3-year relationship, and I'm probably going to lose a few friends as well. Yeah, guys, after reading this update, I kind of changed my opinion on what I said last time. But hey, I was kind of right. It was a gigantic red flag. But the fact that this guy would go ahead and tell his friends how rich his girl is, despite the fact that she begged and asked him not to talk about it with anyone. I am in agreement with her of breaking up with her boyfriend. Let me know exactly what you guys think of this update. Do you think OP went too far by breaking up with him? Drop your comments down below. As you guys know, I read every single comment. I don't care if the story gets 10 comments or 1,000 comments. You can guarantee I'm gonna read them. Okay, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's video. See ya.